Oh.
At some point when he walked up, I didn't even notice when he walked up, but nevertheless, when he walked up, at some point he says, real smart aleck, like he was directing it towards me, saying, "Ma'am, you're doing a good job."
All right, thank you. You're doing a great job. I appreciate you. Thank you. And what? No one came up here and threatened to take their belt off and whoop me? I'm shocked. Shocked. Take the Kenny challenge, people. All right, thank you very much. I just want to say you're doing a great job. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So once again, even after checkout, nobody threatened to take his belt off and whip me. I'm shocked. Again, I challenge you all. Take the Kenny challenge.
Oh, my Lord. Too far, not so Akbar today, everybody. I am sorry about this. Rad and I had an agreement that we were going to start the show just a little bit differently today, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and it looked like the show had not started. We had not gone live yet. So when I went to try to hit live, I hit it twice, which means that you hit live and then you end the show. So before the countdown was even done, we were already done. So I apologize for that. Welcome everybody to the show. I really appreciate everybody sticking around through amateur hour here. Welcome to the Crescent discussion group. This is a weekly live stream program that dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. We're here every Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock or 4:07, like we were today. And I apologize for that. Today we're going to be discussing another topic dealing with Islam, of course, and this one deals with Islamic Reformation. Can Islam be reformed? And I was told by the Radical Moderate and Isa that they were going to be contributing heavily to the show, so I did not do a lot of preparation other than I wanted to point out why we have a need for an Islamic Reformation. So let me go ahead and just show you a couple. I'm going to show you some articles here that I just kind of scanning the news this morning. And I just came across some. What the heck was that? Am I still up? Yes, thank goodness I'm still up. When we read here on the Wall Street Journal, there we go. There's the Wall Street Journal. It says Islam's borders are bloody, wrote the late political scientist Samuel Huntington in 1996. This is clear back in 1996. This is an article from 2015. It is an older article, but it says, and so it's, it says that its borders are bloody, and so it's innards. And it says nearly 20 years later, Huntington looks as more right than ever before. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, at least 70%, look at this, fatalities in armed conflicts around the world last year were in wars involving Muslims. 70% when Muslims make up maybe 22, 23% of the world's population. That is a discrepancy. That is a data point. But not only is that a data point, let's take a look over here. Here, Nigerian Muslims abduct 25 members of a Christian church choir who are on their way to a funeral. Muslims murder at least 10 farmers, abduct 9 in Borno State. What do we have here? Muslims murder 15 Christians, kidnap 32 others in jihad raid. Muslims invade Christian village, murder 4 adults, 2 children. This is getting to be almost a daily event. But then when you call them out on it, you have people telling you're the Islamophobe for being an anti-Muslim racist. And the thing that's incredible to me is that you have people out there that are, that they consider themselves to be, have, I don't know, IIQs or whatever, that want to accuse people like myself and other people that are on this panel of being haters, of being racist, of being, what's the word? Supremacists, I don't know, some type of supremacist, nationals. There we go, nationals, some type of nationals of some sort, trying to convince people to run down Muslims with their trucks and commit violence against Muslims. When you start thinking like that, you're either, number one, a disgraced cop who couldn't find his ass. I'm sorry, no. If you can't say something nice, don't. Okay. However, if you think like that, then you have some pretty bad issues. Stating facts that are obvious to everybody on the planet is not some type of supremacist ideology or some type of desire to see people commit violence again. When you start talking about violence being committed against other people, and then you're called the one that's called the racist for bringing it up, there's a problem in that theme of logic. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at whether the fact, if Islam can be reformed. My opinion, coming out of the gate, where I have the Sharia. Whoops, whoa, what are you doing here? Where I have the Sharia right here in front of me. I got it well tabbed, well documented, and I have it up on the screen whenever they need some type of confirmation. There is indeed a need for some type of reformation. But the problem is that reformation has already occurred, and it was called Wahhabism. If you look at the Ottoman Empire, for all intents and purposes, was very liberal compared to what we see in Islam, in many parts of Islam today. Forget the fact that they killed 2 million Armenians. By the way, let me show you this. Hold on. Let's see that. They're back at it. They're back at it again today. Right next door in Azerbaijan, tens of thousands of Christians are being pushed out of their homes into Armenia. Why? Well, they want to ethnically cleanse that region. When Azerbaijan is 97% Muslim, they want those 3%. They just can't stand the idea that 3% of them might not bow a knee to Mecca 5 times a day. So if there's ever better examples out there for the need for a Islamic reformation, I'm going to sit back, enjoy the show. I don't have any Doritos or popcorn to eat today, but I'm going to let Rad take over. And yeah, so go ahead, Rad.
All right.
You're on.
All right. Thank you. Well, first of all, hold on. Failed again to play my introduction, so I gotta do my own introduction again. Hold on.
This devil, Robert Wales. Robert Wales.
Thank you very much for that, Kenny. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to ask you a question, Eric. Do some housekeeping here. I just want to be clear here. Do you think that Charlie Doyle is a lunatic?
This is a trick question. Of course, everybody and their brother within 50 square miles of here that
Thinks he's a
knows everything,
lunatic
that knows
because
everything, believes that. Yeah,
because he said that you just shrugged, meaning that you weren't in agreement with me. No, Charlie, everybody thinks you're a lunatic. I'm just saying because we know you're listening. One more point. Next week, I believe it's the 7th of October on my channel. Just click on my name, Radical Moderate, and you will go to my channel. Not much there, of course, but we were going to do an expose of Charlie Doyle and his what he was a racist white supremacist cop. Maybe. Well, hold on.
we got.
It
Be
seems
careful,
seems
be
to
careful.
indicate.
Okay.
Well, still waiting for the FOIA request. Hopefully, I'll get all the information from the FOIA request by then. But if not, we can do a part 2 on that.
Sure.
I just want to let you know on that. And never mind. Anyway, okay. So can Islam be reformed? And here's the question: what does a reformation mean? What do we mean by reformation? Okay. Do we mean taking modernistic liberal views and incorporating it into our religious beliefs? Or do we mean reforming it to get rid of those modernistic liberal beliefs and going back to basically what the early scribes and scholars and what the religious text actually taught? That's the question. What do we see? A lot of people in the West, they believe that the Reformation, because it was also tied to the Enlightenment, okay, was and liberty and libertine values that were coming about. They believe that the Reformation was about. It was about incorporating this modernistic ideas to get away from the Holy Roman Empire or the Roman Church, etc. You see what I'm saying? When that, in fact, wasn't the case. The Reformation, okay, was to reform the Catholic Church from its excesses that they were doing. For instance, the big thing for Martin Luther was the indulgences, especially the indulgences where you could pay the indulgence forward. You know what I mean? You could prepay for your sins. Okay, if you're a rich, wealthy man, okay, you could prepay for it. That was his main, well, one of his main things. But see, that's what we should have, Eric. Why I'm pontificating. Can you Google and pull up his points of his thesis?
The 95 Theses?
Yeah, we can.
Well,
I mean,
okay, well, let me just say a couple things about the 95 Theses. The 95 Thesis was the manner in which they would argue and dispute topics at the time. It was just kind of like going to a Facebook groups place where you type in your opinion. And this is the way that they would do it. They would dispute it in open and in public. And the three big things that Luther had was number one, the selling of indulgences. The selling of indulgences was a way in which people could essentially sin and have a permission slip to have that sin forgiven. And the second one was the idea of purgatory. Luther's problem was that, okay, if there is indeed a place called purgatory, which is not scriptural, by the way, then, and the Pope does have the ability to pray to God and have those souls released from purgatory. Why would the Pope, being a loving man, the head of the church, want to see people suffering? If he had that power, why didn't he exercise it to begin with? And then the third thing that, let's see, was indulgences, purgatory. What was it? There was a third main thing that I'll find it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there was three big ones that he had, and it dealt a lot with the authority of the Pope. As a matter of fact, he got to the point where he declared the Pope as Antichrist. We can't call the Pope Antichrist when the Pope is actually doing these corrupt things. The papacy had become so corrupt The church itself, and this is what it is: the corruption within the church. It was the selling of offices within the church. You had priests, or priests who would have be in charge of one church, paying to the cardinals certain amounts of money in order when let's say a priest from another church dies, in order to get that church. So when he takes over that church, he would be able to get the money from the offerings. He would be enriching himself in the future by paying the cardinal for that position. So all of these abuses of the Catholic Church is what caused the Reformation. Now, there were all kinds of theological differences that Luther had. He had problems with, of course, communion, the miracle, what they call the miracle of the Mass, where it was the difference between transubstantiation and consubstantiation. Those two differences, but those are very minor.
Was he in favor of transubstantiation, where the actual body of Christ enters
believed,
into the...
Okay, in Catholicism, what happens in the miracle of the Mass is that when the wine and the bread are blessed, it is believed that they are transformed into the actual body and blood of Jesus Christ. The person, but there's no way that you can physically, scientifically measure that, because it's a miracle. This is the miracle.
Right.
Luther's position is consubstantiation, meaning that the constants of it, once you ingest it, are the actual body and blood of Christ. It's a nuance on words, ever so slight, but he kept that idea of a literal body and blood, and as opposed to what most Protestant denominations believe today. Lutherans still believe in consubstantiation, at least most of them do. They believe more of it. It's a symbolic, and the reason why I agree with that, because if Christ said that this is my body, he'd be hunking off a piece of his flesh instead of giving them the bread. Or if he said, this is drink, this is my blood given to you. So it was symbolic the night in which he did that. So why wouldn't that symbolism, carry on today? And that's okay. Well,
I was just curious on that. And again, I know we have Catholic brothers and sisters that are listening to it. In no way do I mean to bash your heretical sect of Catholicism.
Would you stop?
But again, no. Catholics do great things. No, I'm serious. Protestants should learn from Catholics. If you want to be pro-life, Catholics are the ones that are running it. If you want to do charities, Catholics are the ones running it. You want to do orphanages and adoption agencies, Catholics are the ones who are running it, not Protestants. They're leaving us behind. Okay, just saying. Okay. But I was just kind of curious on that. Now, I personally do believe, I want to mention my personal views, and it kind of disagrees, and I disagree with Protestants a lot on this, because they seem, because this is a serious thing. This is not something to be taken lightly, communion. It's not something where, you can just give it to anybody. It should only be for believers and members of the church. You know what I mean? Okay, because this is a very serious thing, because he said it in a very serious way. Okay? So I think a lot of Protestant denominations just giving out to anybody, like the church I go to, they just give it out to anybody. You know what I mean? I think it should be an communion. Yeah, they pretty much just pass it.
There are churches that do practice closed communion.
Right.
No, that's And that was the church that I grew up. I mean, that was a Lutheran church. I was Missouri Synod.
Okay.
And that's the church that I grew up in.
Well, that's what I'm kind of looking for. Well, like I said, the one I've been going to lately is like pretty much they just pass it down the aisle to everyone, and I'm like, I don't know
if you want to, and I would recommend. There are more Lutherans in Chicago than there are people. I would go find a Lutheran church there. And,
again, I'm Reformed. Okay, I'm looking for a serious, hardcore Presbyterian or
I'm telling you,
but they're all old
Missouri-centered Lutherans are some pretty hardcore. That's like a half a step away from the Catholic Church.
Okay, well, I don't want to go that direction. Anyway, but the point being is this. Let's get back to the topic. Okay. So as you can see, though, it wasn't okay. Martin Luther, and well, he wasn't just the only reformer. I mean, you had John Calvin. That's the one that I love.
Zwingli,
But okay, yeah, but you had a whole. I mean, these were a group of men. They stood on
Huss,
the shoulders of giants.
sure, yeah,
Okay, but none of them were saying, "Hey,
Wycliffe,
let's invite the LGBTQ plus IABC crew, okay, into our church, and yeah, or let's make women priests or reverends, or no, sorry, or or leaders over men, or I know, here's a great idea, let's allow for abortion, or any of these other wacky, crazy ideas that I see coming out of the woke churches, or as they call it, the affirming church. Because Jesus really was a trans lesbian. I'm serious. I just saw a lecture on this 3 weeks ago, where they were saying that. Okay, but no. So it wasn't to incorporate modern or even the modern liberal ideas during the Enlightenment or during the Reformation. This was going back to what Jesus Christ taught in the scriptures. Because now there's another thing we left out. What happened? What happened? Yes, I am, and you're all heretics if you're not. Just saying. But no, okay. Um, all right, but no. Think about this. It wasn't to even indoctrinate or incorporate all these other Enlightenment things, because remember what had happened. Because something else happened. Okay, all right. Something else happened. Okay, during the time of Martin Luther, something happened. It was called the printing press. Right. That was coming out right around then. Maybe
it
not during
was
Martin Luther's time,
70
but
years, no, 70 years before.
70 years
15,
before.
17, printing press 15,
Right.
1452. So you have 70,
So
70
we
years.
had the printing press. Not only that, but before then, we had the actual Bible being translated into German, into modern languages, so the people could read it. And here's another misconception. I want y'all to
Wycliffe.
understand this. When historians say that the majority of people way back when were illiterate, they're wrong. People had a rudimentary, okay, now yes, I'm sure you could find illiterate people like you can find them today, but people had a rudimentary understanding and how to read their own spoken language. They weren't reading Voltaire, they weren't reading Shakespeare, they weren't reading or Homer, the Iliad, but they could read and they could write in a very primitive form and primitive way. Okay, the majority of people could. Okay, all right. So this whole or they could have someone else read it to them who could read. But either way, that was a very important step where all of a sudden people, normal people, could read and understand the Bible in their own language. Okay, that's a big thing, because all of a sudden now you've taken it away from the Catholic Church, you've taken it away from the priest, right?
You've taken away their authority. Once you remove that authority, and this is the other problem is the power and the authority to excommunicate somebody who does not believe all of your what we would call dogma. So if you have for example, this is a great example. The Mariology today is one of the ones that just kind of stick in my craw. Is that you have to, and I've been in the clubhouse rooms with Coptic and all these other guys, and we've talked about this. And I said, let's let me get this straight, guys. If I do not believe that Mary was a perpetual virgin, and I believe all these other things about God, I believe in Jesus Christ, his only son, my Savior, died on the cross for us. No, that doesn't matter. If I don't believe that Mary was a perpetual virgin, I am going to go to hell. Why? Because I do not submit myself to the authority of the Pope. That is frightening. That is a frightening authoritarianism type approach to religion. It's very similar to, I don't know, Islam. I mean, what you're basically doing by saying stuff like that is that you're acting just like that they do in the Islamic faith, where they condemn each other to hell for not believing exactly what they believe. And when you start saying that you have an authority on earth, if you do not believe every single thing that this church endorses, at the threat of excommunication, and this is the way they held power over kings and nations there, during the Middle Ages, is that they would excommunicate you. And if you are excommunicated, there's no salvation outside of the church. That is one of the biggest problems I have with Catholicism today, is the idea that there's no salvation outside of the Catholic Church.
All right, so that's so let's get focused back. But I want to respond to WAIA and M2J. Have you seen the way I ride my motor scooter? It is by the will of God. Trust me, because if it was by all my will, I would have crashed a long time ago. I'm just saying. I'm hell.
Well, you don't ride it like you don't ride your motorcycle like you ride your scooter around.
That's true. That's true.
During a marathon.
Yeah. But no, I was riding the bicycle. You were riding the scooter.
I was riding the scooter. You were riding the bike.
I was huffing and puffing. Anyway. So that's my point on this whole thing, what the Reformation means for Christians. It is not that way we are incorporating something new, or we can add something new, or we can do these things. No, it's to try as best we can to stick to the original teachings of not just the Bible, but also the early church fathers. Okay? What did they understand in the first century? What did they believe, okay, in the first, second, and third century? And true, there is nuances, doctrine of the Trinity, but we proved this a couple times on our show, haven't we? Where we went through the early church father writing, and you can prove the doctrine of the Trinity from these early church fathers, okay? Especially Justin Martyr, who actually says we speak of three.
You can definitely, from reading through their writing, that they recognize that Jesus Christ was God incarnate. Now, as far as the Trinity is concerned, I don't know if we've done a show on it. Maybe we should do it.
Oh well, we should. We should, because especially Justin Martyr. He writes, "We speak and we rightly worship these in three: the Father, His Son, and His Spirit." Okay, mm-hmm. You know what I mean. Anyway, but that's kind of my point in that. Now, so how can Islam be reformed? And what would Reformation in Islam mean? Okay, would Reformation in Islam mean again incorporating the woke LGBTQ plus I alphabet soup plus TUZ? Okay, as some mosques are doing. Okay, especially in Canada. Would it mean allowing female imams? Would it mean allowing I don't know. Let's just say total different belief system that Jesus Christ actually is God. I don't know. What would this Reformation look like? What would it entitle? And my position on this, okay, I think it's position most people except for Issa, because I'm pulling you up here. I'm giving you fair warning because I'm going to end my little speech here. Okay, because I just wanted this to be kind of free flowing in a way. But what would this What would this Islamic Reformation look like? Would it? I mean, how would you go about reforming it? I mean, if a Reformation in Islam is to do away with, hold that book up again, dude. That book you got?
Mine?
Yeah, the Reliance on the Traveler. That's a pretty thick book, dude, and that's like not even all of it. Okay,
right? This is on the PDF is 1,291 pages. This one is 1,232 plus a couple.
Right. But that's just one book from the Shafi school, and that's just one of the books.
The 4 schools.
Right, and there's four schools, but that is just one book of the Shafi school. There are many others in the Shafi school of jurisprudence, and like Eric just said, there's a total of 4 schools. So now you would have to get rid of most of that book and most of other books. You would have to get rid of. You would have to change and I see modern day Western Muslims do this, like the Imam of the strip club, in his the Age of Aisha. They just ignore it, okay? And I get that, but what I'm saying, that is not true. that is not true to their religion. I mean, if you are going to sit there and totally get rid, okay, of all your early sources, then how is that a reformation compared to the what we call the Christian Reformation? You're basically creating a new religion. So call it Ken Islam, call it American Islam, Western Islam, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be Islam. It's definitely not going to be Sunni Islam or even Shia Islam. And I would say it's definitely, I would even say it's not going to be Sufi Islam either. Okay? It's not going to be, well, Ahmadiyyan, I mean, they're not even considered Muslims, okay, for one. But I would even say that the Ahmadiyyans would reject all that. I mean, you would have to seriously, if you were going to reform this, you would have to reject the Sahih Hadiths, all four schools of Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic history. I mean, you would have to say everybody got it wrong until today, when we can allow LGBTQ plus I, A, B, C, F, and Z, and have women imams. I guess if that's what you want to say Reformation is.
Can I add
So,
something?
sure, go ahead.
You'd have to get rid of Muhammad too.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he's the perfect example, and look what he was. He was a warlord, basically murdered people.
What? Muhammad? No, come on.
War is deception. And look at all the forms of deception they have. And then, the polygamy, the slavery, the, well, I don't know.
It's all in there, Sharon. It's all in this book, and we can show people. The thing is that you can buy this book. If you do not own this book.
I own it.
Okay, you need to get it if you cannot afford it, because I don't know how much it is anymore, but
I steal it.
You can, but you would have a hard time finding one. Anyway, you can go online. I mean, they have
PDF. That's
PDF.
what I mean. I stole it. Yeah,
PDF. And if you want a PDF copy of it, email me. I'll put my email here in the chat, and I will send it to a PDF copy to you for free. And that's what I'm going through right now. Is I have a PDF copy here, where I have certain places on the PDF itself highlighted about. This one right here deals with the four schools of thought that have endorsed this book. Let me just bring this up here. If you drop down here, you have major endorsements. This is let's see here, what do they call this? International Institute of Islamic Thought. IIIT, and then you have the most prestigious of all Islamic schools of jurisprudence, which is Al-Azhar University, and they have endorsed this. So you have all kinds of endorsements in the front of the book that tells you, yeah, we approve of what this book teaches. And if we go through what this book teaches, I would ask Isa, what is this? I steal something. What is Brad? Could you quit posting as me if you're going to say stuff like that? What is this?
No, it's true. I don't give them any money. I mean,
okay,
I don't support the jihad.
I'm not supporting jihad by buying Reliance to the Travel. I don't think But the point is, if you want to buy
Kenny's book, I mean, never mind. Go ahead.
Why would you buy Ken? Oh,
because you
found a new seat in my. Let me post my email here in the chat, and if you want a PDF copy of this, I will email you a copy. Gmail.com. There you go. I just posted it in chat. So if you want a copy of it, and you don't want to go online to try to find it or whatever, I'll just email you my copy of it. I got it through.
Paul is going over the Reliance of the Traveler. You know that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One little tidbit is that Sharia actually abrogates Allah.
Yeah, and he makes great points there, pointing out that the Sharia itself will abrogate much of what is taught in the Quran, much of what is taught in the Sunnah and the Sira. And when you start looking at how the Sharia was developed I don't know this for a fact. I don't know this for a fact. However, what it looks like, just as Islam developed over a long period of time, where events, places like Mecca was redacted back upon the historical validity of the religion. A lot of the hadith are redacted back to what Muhammad supposedly said. Because if you read some of the earliest hadiths and compare them to the later hadiths, for some reason, the later hadiths provide you so much more detail than the early hadiths that narrate the same event. So you can see a transition of personal input and emphasis and politics into the hadith, which is in a lot of ways leads to the development of the law, things that are codified into the law. And when people look at that, then they say, okay, well, then how do we know what to do? And Reliance of the Traveler, a lot of people don't realize Reliance of the Traveler is, where is it? I took a college course, and the book was
Wait, you took a college course? Was it a doctorate course?
No, this was part of my undergrad. It was part of my undergrad. It was.
This is when you were a freshman PhD student?
Before I was, Anyway, would you let me get this out? I'm trying to get this thing. The name of the book is called The Straight Path, and it was on Middle East history. And it tells you that in order to be on the straight path to God, or to be on that pathway to God, it has to be a straight path. Well, how do you navigate that path? Well, the traveler, the person who is on that straight path, can use the reliance of what's contained in here. This is why it's called the reliance of the traveler, is because they are relying on what is in there to help them follow that straight path to Allah. A lot of people don't know about it. Let me find that book. Go ahead, Brett. I'm going to find that book.
Well, so that's kind of promise, I guess. And it looks like, I don't know, Issa, you there, or are you still waiting for your tow truck? This is unfortunate. But okay, so any Muslims want to step up? We need to get Muslims in, because we're getting really boring here. But so here's the thing, though. I mean, honestly, well, okay, so let's say, okay, you were able to reform Islam and make it more quote unquote peaceful. Let's say you were able to. Okay, so the argument is this. Okay, there are lots of passages, say in the Old Testament, okay, where God actually calls not just for killing people, but committing entire genocide. And I know you Christians have a hard time with it. I don't, okay, because this is the God that took the people out of Egypt with a mighty hand, that destroyed all of Pharaoh's gods, even the god of death, okay, and killed the firstborn of Egypt, from the cattle and the workmen in the fields, okay, to the firstborn of Pharaoh. He parted the Red Sea and drowned Pharaoh's army. He guided them out with the pillar of fire at night, or pillar of smoke, thick black smoke, in the daytime, and protected him by a pillar of fire at night. He walked up, he spoke from the mountain in thick black smoke in a terrible voice that was so bad that he drove the 70 elders away, and only Moses can speak to him. I am sorry, people. If you as a Christian are going to sit there and say that if this God told you to go and kill and leave nothing that breathes alive of the Amalekites, and you're going to sit there and say, no, I don't want to do that. That just doesn't sound very moral of you. That just sounds, very bad of you. I'm not going to do that, oh God, that just did all these things, either in my sight and in my presence, or in my family genetic memory, who witnessed this, and you're going to say that? Then I'm telling you, you are a fool. As for me, I am with Aaron. I am strapping on the sword, and I am even going through the camp and going through it back and fro. You know what I mean? Okay? So this is not a problem for me, and I'm not a psychopathic killer. I'm just saying. Okay? All right? So, and I understand that Christians have a harder time with this. But the
Well,
argument,
I, Red, you might be surprised, but I agree with you on that.
I know you do.
Well, here's the reason. A lot of people don't understand the reasoning behind it, because this is brought up, of course, from the big blow up with Robert Spencer and the Muslim meta retard guy and the other guy that was on that show. When we start talking about God having the Israelites go wipe out the Amalekites, number one, the Amalekites had been a pagan. These were a group of people who were sacrificing their children. Let's make sure we're perfectly clear here. You know, what's worse, stabbing a young one to death, or throwing them in a fire and watching them burn to death during pagan worship? But with that said, the Amalekites were also very antagonistic to the Jewish people. These were the people who came up from the Jews as they're coming up out of the Red Sea and going into the land of Midian. They were killing the ones that were in the back of the formation. So the Amalekites were not this guiltless when they say, oh, they innocent women and children. No. They were not guiltless by any stretch of the imagination. However, when God gives the command to kill the entire tribe of these people off, you have to think of this in the context of civilizations and cultures that lived in a tribal culture 3,500 years ago, and where rules were not enforced or laws were not enforced through a democratically elected government.
There was no Geneva Convention. Right.
You had no Geneva Convention Accords. You fought for the literal survival to the last blood cell of your tribe, or they perished. So to make an application, this is where Robert screwed up. He says that he believed that the death penalty for apostasy was inherently evil. And I would argue that today it is. I would say in the 21st century, where we no longer operate off of a theocratic type system in governments, yeah, I would say that it is inherently evil to do that. However, if you back that up 3,500 years, well, no, it's not inherently evil to have people who betray you and your tribe to foreign gods as being inherently evil, because what you're doing is you're protecting your tribe, and in this case, it was the tribe of Israel, the 12 tribes. So to say that it is inherently evil, let's make sure that and this is where Robert made the mistake of not qualifying what inherently evil was. And he even said to the guy, he says, I know this is a trap of one sort, but I'm going to say it anyway. Well, there you go. This is when you know that somebody is baiting you. But notice what the Muslim did not say. What he did not. What's his meta? What is he, a meta what?
Metaphysician or something.
Metaphysician.
Like that?
There you go. That's right. That's a metaphysician. Okay. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't condemn it today. What he wanted to do is he wanted to twist. And this is exactly what they do. Is, for example, here's a great example. To say that it's okay for Muhammad to do what he did to little Aisha, you will not find a Muslim to condemn that. No Muslim that I have ever met will condemn what Muhammad did to Aisha. What they will do is they will begin equivocating. They will begin obfuscating. They will start saying, well, if you look at this context, it's a different culture. It's a different, a different time. Look at even in, the state of Delaware or whatever the heck it was, had a marrying age of 7 years old or whatever. Okay. What they will do is they'll provide every single qualification that they possibly can in order to justify the evil that prophet they called did. And so what they have to do is, in order to justify the evil that Muhammad did, what they have to do is they have to legitimize it somehow. They have to equate it to something else other than the fact that it is inherently evil for a 53-year-old man to crawl on top of a little 9-year-old prepubescent girl. So what did they start doing? They said, well, look, you had this king in England that did this, and you had this law in the colonies that said this, and and the marrying age was much lower than, and this is true. All of this is true. But the fact is that it's not Sunnah. It's not what they are allowed to do. It's not what they are encouraged to do today in the 21st century. Just as the killing apostates is wrong in the 21st century, and it's just as wrong throughout all time for a 53-year-old man. Because when you think about the marrying age laws back in the colonial period, these people were within 5, maybe 10 years age of each other. This guy could easily be Aisha's grandfather. In some cases, if you back it up early enough, her great-grandfather. So it's sick what they try to promote. But getting back to what we were talking about here, it's the Sunnah that they try to justify, and they never, ever defend it. And it needs to be reformed. They have to say, look, there was a time and a place for this, and we wholeheartedly believe that there was a time and a place for this. However, today, 21st century, cultures have changed, laws have changed, society has changed, things that are acceptable and things that are not acceptable, like a 53-year-old calling on top of a pubescent girl, or offing somebody because they choose not to bow to Mecca 5 times a day, or throwing people off of buildings because they happen to be homosexual. Those things we don't do today. However, they still happen. Why? Because of the Sunnah, which is codified in this book.
Yeah. So, sorry. Go ahead, Sharon. Go ahead.
Well, they can be killed for criticizing Muhammad if they spoke against him.
Oh, what did you just say, Sharon? You could be criticized. Hold on.
Just for being criticized. I mean, look at how unbelievers are killed or attempted to be killed for criticizing or even drawing a picture of them.
Yep. I'm trying to find it. I wish I was faster with this, but yeah, if you look at criticism of Muhammad, is covered under Section O, under the apostasy. Oh yeah, it's under the apostasy clauses, and I'm going to bring this up on the screen here. Let me.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Let me see how fast I can go. It would be on page 597. Where am I? For Pete's sake, where is it, Kaffer? It's right there. It's right where you left it. You're going to go here, and you're going to type it into here, and then it would be like 614 be the page. Okay. Apostates. Okay. Apostasy from Islam. Acts that entail leaving Islam. So we have apostasy. Leaving Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief. It's kufar, like a thekfir. When a person has reached puberty, is insane, apostatized, he deserves to be killed. And it is accept. Okay, and then a free man, there is no indemnity for killing an apostate. Now that's important, folks. Meaning that there is no, if you kill an apostate, there's no punishment for it. So if somebody apostatizes and you decide to go out and do it, you don't need the permission of the caliph. You don't need to pick up anybody's permission. You can just go out and do it. But if
not only that, scroll back up, Eric. Not only that, not only is there no indemnity, there's no prosecution. There's nothing. Your family cannot retaliate. Okay, for instance, let's say I don't know that a young couple, a Christian man meets a young Muslim Muslima. Okay, Issa's back, I guess. Yeah. Meets
he's in
young
that
Muslim.
Car is walking, running around. Yeah. Either that or is it?
No, he's being towed or something. Let me remove the other one.
I know that.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
No. So there's no. So okay. So let's say, okay, young Christian man meets and marries young Muslima because they're Romeo and Juliet and they fall in love. Whatever. Family finds out about it because now she's converted to Islam. Family kills said apostate, okay? The husband, okay, of the woman, the Christian husband, cannot retaliate, cannot seek justice, okay? All right? But not only that, but pull that up, for the one that did the killing, there is no expiation. He does not have to pay a fine. He does not have to, do a sacrifice or anything. There is no expiation for this because it's not even a sin.
Or any explanation since killing someone who deserves to die. Okay, well, what I wanted to talk about, touch on, was what Sharon had said. This is acts that entail leaving Islam, and that includes prostrating to an idol, speaking words that imply unbelief, such as Allah is a third of three, meaning that you believe in Jesus Christ as the Son of God. Now this is what she's talking about right here: to revile Allah or His messenger. So to revile Muhammad is apostasy. To criticize Muhammad is punishable by death. It's right there in front of you. So when we look at acts that acts that include apostasy, or say acts that entail leaving Islam, that means that you left Islam if you criticize Muhammad. So if I was a Muslim and I was going to say that I believe what Muhammad did to don't search the word. What is dipping? I don't know if I need to put this up there. What I was saying is that if you criticize Muhammad, you can be put to death. So if I'm a Muslim and I would say what Muhammad did to little Aisha is wrong, I can be put to death from that. That is considered, if you're reviling Muhammad, that's included in apostasy. Am I wrong on this? To revile his messenger, to revile. I mean, it's right here. To revile his messenger. May Allah bless him, give him peace. So to revile Allah. So what you're doing is you're basically equating Muhammad to Allah. So to revile Muhammad or Allah means that you're committing apostasy. So therefore, you deserve to be killed.
You're right on.
Do you mind if I respond to this? Can you hear me? I don't know.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So Muslims are a large group of people, and they have many different interpretations. And even if we take the most traditional model of Islam, there's a hadith, a tradition that says there are 73 Muslim groups. So which is the true Muslim group? Who knows? We don't know. The thing is, I think we have come to this place of like scriptural literalism. I don't think ancient Muslims had that. And honestly speaking, I think Rad made a very good point about what is the two different kinds of reformations. And I'll say what my opinion is. I'm pro-Reformation number one. The Reformation with liberal, libertine values. I do think we should have that. I don't think we should execute anyone. I think that's insane. And I'm going to say I have a controversial position probably on this platform. I'm 100% against capital punishment. I think it's an evil thing. That's my personal opinion. I think there are much better things that we can do. But I think we do need to reform and be the best for humanity. And I think if we're looking at Christianity, Christ does represent that. But a lot of people who followed Christ did not. They didn't do this. And I have heard attacks on the Ottoman Empire. The European Christian empires were better. They were pretty bad. They killed Jewish people. They killed Romani. They killed a lot of people. They were not just, I wouldn't have wanted to live in that empire. I'm cool with America and the Christianity of America, but I wouldn't have wanted to live in a European Christian world. I would have been terrified. They probably would have killed me because I'm not white. So I'm just saying that's just what I feel.
Because we lived in a reformed era, though, Isa. That's.
And I like this era. I think this is the era we need to follow. There's so many good things that we have, like the idea of like when people could just go to church or they can go to their place of prayer. I think that's great. I think it's a good thing, and there's no compulsion. And I think it is bad when people are forcing people to pray. I think it's a terrible thing. That should be your choice. I believe in agency, so
Well, just to be clear, well, actually, let me ask you a question, Isa. Have you ever read Maimonides' letter to the Yemenis? Have you ever read that?
I have not read that. I've read The Guide to the Perplexed, but I haven't read that.
Okay, so the Yemenis, people, Jews from a synagogue from Yemen, wrote Maimonides, okay, who, by the way, as you know, Maimonides went through the third and some of the fourth Crusades, okay, the most bloodiest, okay, and actually fled Spain, and then became the physician to Solomon, okay, during the third Crusades, okay. But anyway, Maimonides writes, but so the Yemenis, they write to Maimonides saying, hey, we're getting a lot of pressure from these Arabs, from these Muslims. They want us to, incorporate Islam into blah, blah, blah. Should we do this? And McMoney's writes back and basically says, are you freaking nuts? He actually says, and I'm quoting from memory, never has there been a nation. Well, actually, I'll pull that up, but I wanted to comment on something on this. Issa, actually, we discussed this. You're against capital punishment, okay, because you're cruel. Because you want people to suffer in total solitary confinement, which I'm okay with. I'm just saying. I just say, but no, I'm sorry. I'm digressing. I shouldn't have said that. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. So my response though to you overall regarding this whole thing, okay, fine. You want to reform Islam, or you want Islam to be reformed. You wanted to get away from basically Muhammad, the perfect example of mankind. That's what you're going to have to do ultimately. Okay. Okay. You can rework it. You could say, when Allah said in the Quran, slay them wherever you find them. He really didn't mean that. That was a spiritual thing. When the hadiths and stuff, talk about how Muhammad could do all these horrible things to people. Okay. You're going to have to say, no, that was a spiritual context. When, when it talks about how Muhammad, took the wife of his son-in-law or his adoptive son and then married her, you're going to say, no, that's really didn't happen. That was a spiritual thing. Because remember, they have made him the perfect example of mankind, down to the point where the way he takes a dump or a piss is to be emulated, and that is a good thing, and you get rewards for that. That is cultish. That is very weird, okay? All right? I'm just saying. You're going to have to get away with, you're going to have to get around with this and reinterpret all these things that they say are historical facts really didn't happen. They were just meant spiritual metaphors. Okay, that's fine. But ultimately, here's to make Islam more palatable, more westernized, more peaceful. Okay? Here's the problem, dude. How are you going to get these peaceful Muslims to then go out and kill the majority of the Muslims who are saying, no, we don't want that Islam? Because they're going to have to do a lot of killing or they're going to be immediately wiped out and exterminated. Because the other Muslims are actually following the historic Muhammad, or the historic Muhammad that we know, okay, or that they know. Actually, no, I would say the world knows, because if Muhammad existed, then there is an historical Muhammad, and that historical Muhammad is in the Hadiths, it is in the Tafsirs, okay, all right, it is in the what is not Ibn I got his books here. What's the other one? The Sira, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Sirat literature, the histories, you know what I mean? How are you going to do? How are they going to do this? And this is the thing. Let me just finish up. Let me just finish this up. I would love to see Muslims like Kenny debate that Hakachu guy, okay, on the age of Aisha. I would love. I am tired of seeing Christians like David Wood or Spencer or Brother Rashid go up to Muslims and debate Islam with them. No. Muslims need to debate each other on this. They need to explain to each other how this is going to be done if it wants to be reformed. Now, I'll sit there, I'll get the popcorn, and we'll watch the beheading videos because they'll be coming fast and furious. I'm just saying. But how is that going to happen? This is my question. And Eric, I did want to respond to you really quickly on that. You gave a great explanation as to why God would why God would want to kill the Amalekites. Me, I don't care about the explanation. Boss man says that can crush you like a bug, that can hover the mountain over you and let that mountain fall down on you. And he says to kill these people. I don't care the explanation. Do you see what I'm saying? It's being done because I would be a fool to sit there and say, no, not going to do that because, no.
Well, that's
I
what I was saying.
Hold
on, so just a second. I want to keep Brad from personally attacking me again. by providing.
I wasn't.
I know, I'm kidding. But I agree with you. If
Yeah,
I had lived at that time, but what we were talking about is the 21st century. But even if it occurred in the 21st century, if God manifests himself in, a Shekinah glory and does all these great things in the eyes of not just me, but everybody around me, I'm going to follow what God tells us to do. And I agree with you. But this
Exactly.
is something that's 3,400 years ago, number one. But number two, which is more importantly, what we do is we have a different understanding and application of religion today, as opposed to tribalism 3,400 years ago. That was the important point. But I agree with you.
Hey, I got an example of a so-called peaceful sect of Islam, or at least a member. Dr. Oz, he criticized his Republican opponent for criticizing Islam, and the guy didn't really even say anything that bad about it. But that just shows you that even who we think are a peaceful sect of Islam, it's not. It's not.
Oh, I have a great video here. Brad,
Yeah, wait.
can I play this video?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, I'm gonna step away for a second, but I just want to respond. Yeah, and look at the candidate, the senator we have from Pennsylvania right now, the slob. He actually calls himself a slob who is brain dead. Good job, people in Pennsylvania.
I know Pennsylvania people ought to be punished for being American citizens, for voting that guy in. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Well, okay, here's what I want to show you a video of a guy that is now, let's see, what is this guy? This guy is a news host on MSNBC. Now, MSNBC has about as many viewers as the Cross and the Crescent. That's a bad joke. They have more. But anyway, they have this host. Let's see here. Video of MSNBC host calling non-Muslims animals and cattle and comparing homosexuals to pedophiles resurfaces. And this guy's name is Mahedi. Let me bring this guy up here so you can see exactly who I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. Okay. So this guy here, Mahedi Razan Hassan, has said some things in the past. Now he is, MSNBC has given him his own show. So here are some of the things that he has said that you might find kind of interesting.
To the non-Muslims, from the rest of those human beings who live their lives as animals, bending any rule to fulfill any desire. Once we do that, we are lost.
Oh, the kuffar. Can you guys hear him talking? Can you guys hear that?
Islam, to believe is to know. To disbelieve is not to know. That is what it fundamentally comes down to. It is to remain ignorant, to cover up knowledge. After all, what is kafir? Kafir comes from the root word, which means to cover up, to conceal. The kafir is the one who covers up that knowledge which is clear. The French Orientalist scholar Lamens, he once wrote that the Quran is not far from considering unbelief, disbelief, as an infirmity, as an illness, as a disease of the human mind. SubhanAllah. Non-Muslims point this out to us. And of course, the kafir, the disbelievers, the atheists who remain deaf and stubborn to the teachings of Islam, the rational message of the Quran, they are described in the Quran as, quote, a people of no intelligence. Allah describes them. Not of no morality, not of no belief, a people of no intelligence. Because they are incapable of the intellectual effort it requires to shake off those blind prejudices.
All right, that's enough of that clown. But you guys kind of get the hint. This I should have had this on last week's show when we were talking about Islamic supremacism, and this guy would be a great example of that, I guess. Let me minimize this here so I can put this back up. There we go. This guy would be a great example of that, talking about how, you know, anybody that's not a Muslim is lacking intelligence. He's a kuffar, he's a deceiver, he's a liar. You know, all the stuff that goes along with anybody that refuses to bow a knee towards a rock in the middle of the Arabian desert, halfway across the planet 5 times a day. Of course, you're ignorant if you don't do that. Okay, Rad, are you back yet? Rad, are you back yet? I'll take that as a no. Isa, are you available yet? Isa, are you available yet? All right, I'll take that one as a no. So I guess I will go ahead and take the helm here. So let's go ahead and take a look at things that really need to be reformed in Islam. Let's go to this one. It says page 604. So that should be around, we go, what is it, plus 16? No, what was it, plus 16? Yeah, so this should be about 620. 620, and this is 0913, and this deals with slavery. Where'd it go? The obligatory character. No, okay, come on, let's go. Let's see. 0913. Oh, I'm going the wrong direction. Sorry. 0913, 0913. I'm getting there. I'm sorry. I'm getting there. Here it is, 0913. Okay, when a child or a woman is taken captive and the woman's previous marriage is immediately, by fact of capture, they become slaves, right here. They become slaves by the fact of capture, and the woman's previous marriage is immediately annulled. So does anybody here think that it is okay if you are captured in warfare, that it's perfectly permissible to have your marriage annulled and you become a sex slave? Who agrees with that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so we have a no from Darcy.
A no.
Who's a woman, and
A no.
A no from Sharon. So this is over. So we think that the law, under the Sharia, because Sharia means law, so Islamic law. So under Sharia, we're saying that taking people captive and enslaving them, annulling their marriages, enslaving them, and making them the property of other people is a bad thing, and that needs to be reformed. Okay, so we'll all agree with that. Let me back this one up to number 11. I believe it is 11, page 608. No. Give a guarantee as protection. Children, unless they're fighting. The caliph fights. Okay, fighting. Okay, let's just do this. Let's talk about jihad for a second. Does anybody think? Let me make sure I check this off. To think that it is permissible. Let's see here. The caliph makes war upon the Jews, the Christians, and the Zoroastrians, provided he's first invited them to enter Islam. And this is what who's the other knucklehead? Osama bin Laden. This is what Osama bin Laden did. He invited the United States to Islam. I call of you, my brothers, to come to Islam, But after you call them to Islam and they refuse, well, then that's when it becomes perfectly permissible to wage jihad on them. And if they will not, then invited them to enter the social order by paying the non-Muslim poll tax. This is the jizya. This is where it's codified in 929. If you go to the Quran, 929, it says that they are to feel themselves subdued. Let me pull up this one, 929. I just want to make sure that, because, anytime that you don't read something exactly as the way it is written, you always get accused of trying to distort it. It says, fight those people of the book who do not believe in God and the last day. You're supposed to what? Fight those people who do not believe in God in the last day, who do not prohibit what God and his apostle have prohibited. So the question is, if you are a Quran-only Muslim, how are you to know what his apostle is also prohibiting out there? That'd be a great question. I'd like to hear you answer, because if the apostle is the only one that's reciting the Quran, which is the direct word of God, so how do we know what Muhammad is prohibiting out there? Boy, that's kind of a hard one to figure out. Nor accept the divine law until all of them pay protective tax in submission. And some versions say until they feel themselves. Well, let's see what Robert Spencer's, what does he call this? The critical Quran. Let's see what his says. He does not have this numbered like I would prefer him to. Why is that? Repentance, Sir 9:20. Okay, here we are. 9:29. Fight those who do not believe in Allah or the last day, and do not forbid what Allah and his messenger have forbidden, and do not follow the religion of truth, even if they are among the people of book, until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. And the thing with Robert is he's got all kinds of footnotes here and explanations as to what all this means in here. So if you ever get a chance, this is not cheap, though. But anyway,
Sorry.
My question would be, hold on, let me just finish this, right, and then you can have it back. My question would be, would you think that having people pay the jizya and become dhimmis should be something that needs to be reformed?
Yes.
Yeah, I would most certainly hope that would be. But do you guys know what the first thing that the ISIS did when they took over Mosul is? They reopened the slave market there, and they imposed the jizya on Christians. This is where you get that I am N from Voice of the Martyrs, because they would go around identifying Christians by painting an Arabic letter N on their homes and their businesses, identifying them as a Nazarene.
A yellow star.
It was the same exact thing.
Which is where Adolf and the boys got that. By the way, highly recommend The Rise and the Fall of the Third Reich. I'm almost done listening to it. It's a giant tome, really excellent work. But anyway, well, let me just chime on this whole ISIS thing. Do you know I was against, and I'm still against, I don't think we should have fought ISIS. Okay? I don't think we should have tried to destroy ISIS. Hear me out. And I don't think we should have stopped Muslims for wanting to immigrate to the IS. I was totally against that. People thought I was nuts. Seriously, think about it. You got these dudes that are all hell-bent on doing jihad. There was a couple of them that did the jihad in America because they couldn't immigrate. The one dude that did the California shooting, he was prevented by the government from immigrating to the IS. You know the guy I'm talking about? He killed like 20
in San
people.
Bernardino. Yeah.
Yeah, in a no gun zone.
But the motivation. Did you see a picture of his wife?
No. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
all right. Well,
baby, we got to go to heaven because you.
Really. Okay. Well. Anyway, point being is this. Okay,
That was a joke. That was a joke. Okay.
It was a very funny joke. I thought it was funny. Yes. But anyway, point being is this. I always thought this was the stupidest thing. Why are we keeping, these jihadis here in America when we could be exporting them to the IS? No, seriously, think about this. Let them establish their Islamic caliphate. We can contain it. We can sit there and put up a giant wall around it and say, no, you're not going any further. And then we could, kill them, when we need to do the killing. And just beat them back and keep them contained. But let them have this. In other words, what I'm saying is this. Muslims, like, our modern Western Muslims that say, yes, they want to live under Sharia law, even though they don't know what Sharia law is, and blah, blah. They want a little bit of the poison. And then eventually, once they've consumed the entirety of the poison over years or over generations, it's too late. What I am saying is this, is that ISIS, the Islamic State, was a godsend because it was all the poison all at once. And they couldn't hide from it. They couldn't sit there and say, No, yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. What's his name? The imam of the strip club liked to quote, even though he misquoted him. The guy from Harvard or Oxford University, Jonathan Brown. Okay.
Oh yeah.
He no, he actually wrote an article about killing apostates, and he actually defends killing apostates. We lost Eric. Oh, he doesn't kill the stream like he did before, but he actually defends killing apostates. But then he ends his argument saying, well, with ISIS actually doing it in front of everybody's faces, he actually says this in this article. Okay, welcome back to your show, Eric. Oh, and he left again.
No, I'm here.
Welcome back to your show.
I just crashed. I don't know what the heck happened there.
Anyway, so Jonathan Brown actually writes in this article where he defends killing apostates in ancient not ancient Islam, but during the Islamic Caliphs, Caliphate's time, as a way to defend Islam and keep Islam from dying. He actually says killing apostates was a way during this time to keep Islam growing, to keep Islam intact. Because people want to leave Islam as soon as they kind of join it, if they can, if they've got another alternative. Okay? But so he defends it, but then he says, but now in the modern term, but he said that killing apostates, and I'm paraphrasing here, but killing apostates was done behind closed doors. There was no internet. He actually says that. There was no live streaming. There was no video. So people didn't see it. He actually says that. So people didn't see it. But he said now, but in a time of ISIS, where people can live stream it, where they can post it on social media, where you can see it being done, and the effects of seeing it being done is to drive people away from Islam, then maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. So that was his sole reason as why he was saying, yeah, maybe we shouldn't kill apostates anymore, because people can see it now in their face, on the YouTubes, on the Twitter, on the Twitch, on the whatever, on the Facebook. They can see the results of killing apostates or homosexuals or whatever. So maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. In other words, he was arguing, let's not do it in your face. Let's do it behind closed doors. Okay? That was his main argument. I can find the argument. Actually, the imam from the strip club actually used this article, but he only quoted 2 sentences of it. He didn't understand the context because he can't. Anyway, point being is this. Like I said, I was for, hey, why do we want to kill this caliph? Instead, why don't we just take from the Cold Warriors and do isolation and containment and allow anybody that wants to go there to go and let them experience the true Islam. That would have been the death knell of Islam if we would have done that. That would have been a quicker death knell of Islam. But at the same time, we could say, okay, look, we're going to allow all the Muslims in our country to immigrate, but if they want to leave, you got to give them back to us. You know what I mean? Or if they want to convert to Christianity or whatever, if they escape, you got to give them back to us. Okay? That would have been a much simpler solution. Again, give the people the poison all at once, as opposed to the poison a little bit by a little bit. Because arsenic and old lace, you give the poison a little bit, and over time, you develop a tolerance to it. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I don't know if I agree with it or not. Again, because
of course not, because you're kofar anyway.
Because we live in the 21st century, and the idea.
Well, if they want to go back,
again, like I said, we see. If you want to go to some place like Afghanistan and you want to live in that Mecca,
I'm fine with it. Not my problem. Not my country. Not my problem.
I'm just saying, if you want to go to, and I would, if people would advocate, I'm not going to. Sometimes you think things like, well, okay, if you're going to advocate for that, well, why don't you go try it out? And if you want to publicly advocate for it, then you have to, you have to get like some type of street cred for doing it. Like Okay, yeah, I lived in Afghanistan for 5 years, and I think it's great to live under the control of a theocracy. I think that everything works out well. We all look out for our brothers, and then those people who dissent, well, we keep that down to a minimum, or we go out and we kill them. And I just can't get there because of the fact that my Christian heart for those people wants to see them saved from this blindness that they're suffering from.
But here's the thing. Remember, Christianity really expands under persecution. And actually, ISIS was the biggest motivator and is the biggest motivator for people to leave Islam, for one, and yes, convert to Christianity.
It
was.
I'm gonna agree that ISIS was a big motivator for people to get the heck out of Mosul. I mean, there isn't hardly any Christians left in Mosul anymore. You look what happened to the Christians that were there. There was, I don't know how many 100,000 there were. There's like a couple thousand left. Somebody can fact check me on that. But my understanding is that Mosul, and as a matter of fact, I know it's not my understanding. I know Mosul's lost a significant majority of its Christian population because of what goes on in these type of theocracies. And this is exactly why there needs to be some type of reformation. How many Jews and Christians live in Saudi Arabia today?
None. But okay, but wait, hold on. You just said there needs to be a reformation of Islam.
Something needs to be done in order.
Then you're not going to have an Islam.
I agree. But see this. I believe. Okay, here's what I think, and this is what I said earlier. If Muslims are willing to get rid of, what did I do with it? Here it is. If they are willing to get rid of this, they're willing to get rid of the Sharia and view their religion through the context that the Sunnah of Muhammad only applied in the 7th century during his life. And it's not something that they should do forever. I think that there could be some type of, at least a level of tolerance of other people's points of views. I have an article that I brought up today. I'm not going to show it, but it deals with that guy that's desecrating Qurans in Islamic countries or whatever, at their embassies or whatever it is. Now, I'm not a big advocate for burning Qurans or anything of the like. However, hold on, let me qualify this. If it is to illustrate the absolute intolerance that people who follow a strict form of this faith adhere to, yeah, I would say, yeah, you want to go ahead and see what this looks like. Okay, let me just tear a page out of this book here and look at them freak out. That in of itself, that right there will illustrate how intolerant these people are and why there is a need to have this mentality of taking a book, piece of paper, and ripping it out of a book requires them to commit violence on other people. That's absolutely absurd to think that that's okay at any time in any place in the 21st century. So, well, when we start talking about Reformation and stuff, I do think that it can be reformed, but you have to get rid of a lot of the major portions of
did you see the
Sharia.
Yeah, I agree with you. Did you see that article on MEMRI today? MEMRI?
No.
Oh, there's actually a Shia Muslim that was trying to say that Islamic texts need to be re-examined. But,
this is the one that you put in chat. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Let me bring that up. I'll bring that up. Let me show that. I think that's important to show that.
I haven't read the full thing yet. But it does have to come within Islam, this reformation, if it's going to happen. But what it looks like is he's bringing that up to the Saudi Arabians, who are the ones who started the Wahhabis.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Salafis are the actual reformers. I remember after 9/11 happened, I would go into, this is ancient stuff. This is IRC chat rooms. Okay, if you don't know what IRC is, it means Internet Relay Chat. It was the first original chat. Okay, it was all text based. Okay, but you could do stuff with it. It was pretty cool. Okay, but I remember going into these serious hardcore Muslim channel, and because I came from, because I think I've told you this. I dated, and I did fall in love with this girl, this Shia girl from Iraq. She was a refugee from the first Gulf War, and her family loved me. I loved her. I mean, no, seriously, I probably could have converted to Islam just on that back in the day when I was, late teenager, early 20s kind of dude. You know what I mean? Or mid 20s, I should say. Okay, because no, I did love this girl, but she turned out to be really bat crap crazy. Last I heard from her, she was an interpreter in Iraq. Don't know whatever happened to her. I do know her mother contacted me out of the blue and said, "You must stop her. She's going to Iraq." And I talked to her, and she's going to get paid $150,000 tax free to be an interpreter. And I'm like, I wish I could go. You know what I'm saying? But what the hell? So I don't know whatever happened to her. But anyway, that was the last I heard about her or her family. Anyway, point being is this. So I had this very positive, interaction with Muslims, and I didn't know anything about Islam, but I'm going with the whole thing. Islam is peace, and I'm telling that to these Muslims in this chat room, and they're hardcore Salafis, and they're like, "What are you, Mufti Bush, telling us what our religion is?" And they're all telling me, the Salafis, they're like, "No, Osama bin Laden is our reformer. Al-Qaeda is our reformation." I remember that specifically. And that's what started to get me thinking. I was like, really? And that's kind of when I started to learn about Islam. And I wish I never would have, to be honest with you, because it's consumed way too much of my life to know all this stuff. But anyway, my point being is this. Fine. I am perfectly fine if you can reform, but we can't do this. We're talking about reforming this. They need to do this. Fine. If they want to turn Islam into all LGBTQ plus I trans whatever mosques, I'm okay with that. Okay, I am. But I'm saying this would not be true Islam. And this would probably attract a lot more people to it if they were this, LGBTQ plus I, whatever, okay? If they were this Reformation kind of thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this, Brad. Let me ask you this.
What?
If Islam got away from the codification of slavery, for example, do you think that they could ever do that?
If they want to call themselves Islam, if they want to call themselves Muslim, no. Because here's the problem.
Okay, so no. I'm going to show you what Sharon had sent, because this is what raises the great question. Are we required, according to Muslims, according to Muhammad, according to the Quran, according to the Sunnah, according to Sira, are we required as Muslim? I'm not including myself. I would never include myself in that group. But I'm saying, if I was speaking as a Muslim, are we required today in the 21st century to follow the same standard of conduct that was the norm in the 7th century? And if we are not, according to cultural norms, according to international law, can we therefore still practice our faith without having to resort to all these barbaric things that Muhammad actually did, and still say that they're perfectly permissible in the 21st century? And here's look what this guy says here. I'm just going to run you through a series of things. He says, our problems is not with the Quran, our problem is with its interpreters, the so-called preachers who said that you are a preacher, who said that you possess the absolute truth. These texts need a re-examination, a revision is what he says. The mentality of our youth has become a minefield because of these texts. Today, young people, even Shias, are seeking a change. They have opened up towards Europe. They no longer see liberalism as a curse, but today even Saudi Arabia is leading towards a more balanced future and not towards the abolishing of a religion. Just like there is Islamophobia, we suffer from a fear of women, a fear of Europe, a fear of Western civilization, a fear of the other, a fear of anything. I am calling for a culture of life as opposed to a culture of death. They believe in conspiracies and believe that everybody wants to slaughter the Muslims. Well, that sounds very familiar. Hold on. Is that this book here? Oops, wrong one. Rad, would you? Where are you on here by yourself?
I didn't do nothing, brother.
Okay, flip me back over here because I want to show people.
I didn't do anything. Seriously.
Well, how do I flip you and I here on the screen? Do you know how do I do that? No, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I was just going to show you in a book written by a certain imam. This is all he does. He believes that everybody wants to slaughter Muslims. Everybody's against Muslims. It isn't the fact that I am not, and I don't think anybody in this panel would say that we're anti-Muslim. We're not against Muslim people at all. What we are against is Islam itself and its practices towards people outside of Islam. If you want to go to, for example, let's say you want to go to Saudi Arabia and you want to, go to the Kaaba and you want to kiss that black stone, you want to walk around it 7 times, you want to throw, walk going between Safa and Marwa and live there and do all those types of things. I do not want to stop you from doing that. I criticize that practice because it sounds to me like it's just pure paganism. But I'm not against you doing that. And I'm not against you criticizing Christian practices either. What I am against...
Let's put this in perspective.
Let me just finish this here. What I am against is you coming into this country and telling me that my criticism of your belief systems is somehow hateful and bigoted and needs to stop because I just happen to be employed by a school system. I don't say these things in my classroom. I don't have to say these things in my classroom. But the fact is, and I would never do that because I'm a professional. Oh, by the way, I'm not like somebody who scuffs up little kids in the back of a car, gets, rap songs about cheating on his wife.
There's more to it than that.
Of course there is. But what I would say is that if these people would turn around and look at what it says here, we believe that everybody wants to, and get rid of this paranoia that everybody wants to slaughter Muslims, which is not the truth. The fact is that the majority of the slaughtering, the killing of Muslims, is done by other Muslims. Within that New York, article that I read at the beginning of the show said that 70% of the violent or the warfare and bloodshed is Muslims within Muslim borders themselves inside of it. So
exactly, we don't have to kill Muslims. We don't have to kill Muslims. You Muslims will do it all by yourselves, which is what I am saying. Give them the poison, okay? Let them have the poison. But just to respond to you really quickly, regarding the whole thing on what were we saying? No, I forgot.
I was talking about that guy's article about not practicing Islam as it was practiced in the 7th century. Turning around and saying, okay, marrying a 9-year-old prepubescent little girl is wrong, and it's not Sunnah. It's gross. It's immoral.
Okay, fine.
To do that, be able to say that without somebody saying you're criticizing Muhammad, and that's apostasy, and you can be killed for apostasy.
Then that's something they have to debate within themselves, and they're not doing it. Instead, they're debating David Wood or an atheist. Actually, I think, what I'm saying, instead, in the latest debate on the Aisha thing, these are Muslims should have been debating this. Okay? But here, let's put this in perspective, people. if you are a Muslim and you tell me that yes, all the Sharia law, okay, that's implemented when we have a caliphate. Yeah, okay, that doesn't help you. That doesn't win you over to me. Because what you're saying is, we're not going to kill you now, kill and oppress you now. We're going to kill and oppress you sometime in the future. Okay? That's not a good position for you. Okay? That's like, okay, you said, oh, this is what I wanted to comment on. You said we don't hate Muslims. This is true. We don't hate Muslims. We don't want to kill Muslims. Dude, I'm kind of indifferent in a way to a certain point, okay? But because we'll just let you kill each other, and I'm fine with that either way, okay? I don't want that to happen, but if you are totally willing to go jihad against each other, okay, have at it. It has nothing to do with me. You go do your thing, okay? But here's the thing.
You mind if I say something to you?
Hold on, Issa, welcome back. Hold on a second. Let me just finish up with this real quickly. Real quickly here. Okay, your concept of don't worry, we're not going to kill you now. We're going to kill you later when we establish the Islamic Caliphate. Okay, and have true Islam and purity and blah blah blah. Okay, that doesn't when you. That's like okay. I have no problem with people who worship the Aztec gods. I really don't. I know some of them. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. But hey, they got their faux religion. They're worshiping the Aztec god. Okay. What I do have a problem with is if you start worshiping these Aztec gods and you start doing beheading and human sacrifice and cutting out the heart of a person and throwing them down staircases, then I have a problem. Okay? Then I have a serious problem. I'm not going to invite you over to family dinner if you're thinking it's a good thing I cut out your heart and throw you down a flight of stairs. Okay? No, that's not going to win me over. I'm just saying. By the way, Issa, go ahead. I got to step away again, but go ahead.
So there's an issue that I have. It's called the no true Scotsman's fallacy. What is a true Muslim? We can't prove what a true Muslim is. You said there's a Reformation. I agree. There's a Salafi Wahhabi Reformation. Why was there this Salafi Wahhabi Reformation? Do you know that Arabs haven't run the Muslim world pretty much since the beginning? Arabs have not had really any power until oil came into the equation. When oil was found in the Persian Gulf, these people became very powerful, very fast, and very quick. They paid for their own interpretation. If it was true that they're going back to the ancient Islam, the true, quote unquote, true Islam, then why did all these generations not have the same perspective on Islam? And I want to go back to what Brother Eric was saying. He did mention that the Ottoman Empire was pretty progressive. It was. And again, I'm going to bring it up. People don't like this, and it's controversial, but the European Christian empires weren't great. I wouldn't want to live under Richard the Lionhearted. I wouldn't want to live in any of those empires. They were all terrible and horrible, and they were barbaric. They were barbaric to their peasantry. They were barbaric, and what I say is that they manipulated Christianity. Nobody even knew Christianity because you couldn't read and write. So you had a clergy that was able to manipulate and control the masses. That's deeply problematic. I don't believe we need to be able to read, and we need to be able to have access to our own faith. So the problem, or any faith that we have, my problem is, what is truth in this space? We talked about this, Rad, and I want to go back to the one point that you mentioned. You brought up a point where you said about my death penalty position. Actually, I believe in accountability. It's not about real punishment. People should be accountable. If they did something horrible in life, doing a lethal injection, there's no accountability there. It's fast food justice. It's not real justice. And also, it doesn't allow the person to have time for penitence. If you really believe in faith, then why don't you allow these people a second chance? They can't be with society, but should they have a right for penitence? I think that they should. I would say probably every Christian would argue that, right? But you can't be in society because you did bad things that disrupted your place in society. That's a fair position. I agree with that. And I would say what was the other point? Oh yeah, we talked about this too. You say the Salafis and Wahhabis are true Muslims. Okay. Well, when it comes, and this is a point we bring up on the channel all the time, when it comes to the Torah and the Evangelion, the Gospels, we say, oh, it's been corrupted. But the text itself says it's not corrupted. So which one is it? If they are true Muslims, then they would have to take that position. They don't take that position. Thus, they are not, quote unquote, true Muslims. It is a flaw. Also, these same people anthropomorphize God. They say God has a leg. God has a chair. God has an arm. Is that not true? That's a problem. You can't anthropomorphize God if you're taking the traditional standard. But because they're literalists, they have to do that. They are stuck in that trap. So what is the true Muslim? I don't know, but they can't make that argument.
Okay, let me say a couple things here. I want to address Dragon here, because Dragon, seriously, do you think that my country was 500 years under the empire? They cruel. I believe that the Ottoman Empire was cruel. I'm not Dragon. I would never say that I would want to live under the Ottomans. I mean, what they did was absolutely. I mean, even to the very end, the bitter end, with the Armenian genocide, for crying out loud. Yeah, But compared to other, compared
the empire fell, it was pretty much at the end, the tail end of that.
Well, compared to other empires, they had their compared to the Middle Ages themselves, you had a sense of progressivism within them. However, don't be thinking that this is some full-throated endorsement there, Mr. Isa. What I am saying there is that they were. Yeah, compared to some of the other empires around them, they were empires. They're progressive. Okay, but on the other hand, you said something about what was it? Capital punishment. You know, look. There has to be consequences for people's actions, and with these consequences, you have to have a form of a deterrent against certain crimes to make people pause and think about what the consequences of those crimes are. And to simply say, well, we're going to completely do without the death penalty because, well, I personally think that it wouldn't persuade me not to commit these other crimes. But think about the other people that it would deter from committing those other crimes. And then you threw on top of there, which I can't understand where you came up with this idea. And we only have 10 minutes left, by the way. You came up with this idea where they don't have time to do penance. Do you have any idea how long somebody spends on death row before they are put to death, and how much penance they can actually do? There's all kinds of time to pray for forgiveness. It isn't like it happens just, you're
John,
to the gas chamber you go.
John Wayne Gacy actually grew breasts because they smuggled in female hormones for him, and this is in the 80s. No, I'm not joking. There's a video of him, okay, in Joliet State Prison, where he's topless and he actually has female boobs, because they smuggled in estrogen for him. He was a trailblazer, a transitioner, seriously. And his the dude that bought and purchased him. Okay. Anyway, they're doing cocaine, smoking weed, drinking booze. I'm serious. This is a video from Joliet State Prison of John Wayne Gacy. Before, I can't remember, was he executed or did he die of natural causes? But either way, John Wayne Gacy needed to go to the death chamber. I'm sorry. If you have 30-something boys buried underneath your house, and you can't really kind of explain that away, you pretty much got to go. Okay. Instead of having, grow breasts.
So here's my problem. My ethical problem with this situation is that can a government execute its citizens? I think we have to go beyond that. I don't think it is the better thing to do. I think you have to remove that person from society, obviously so, because they are dangerous to society.
If you execute them, you are removing them from society.
No, but I don't mean like that. I mean like removing them away from the population. I think it's dangerous because absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is why we have the Second Amendment. We cannot have a totalitarian dictatorial state.
Okay, fine. Release John Gacy, and then we can invoke our Second Amendment rights. Perfect. I'm okay with that. Purge.
No, these people need to go and they can live on an island away from the rest of society. But we can't execute our citizens because the thing is, you're giving the government way too much power. This is my opinion. I believe in small government, and I'm very consistent on this. I think the government should not have that much power. So
Put him on an island. I think I saw this sci-fi movie. It does not end well. Oh, Escape from New York and L.A.
Oh,
well,
yeah,
L.A.
I
was.
saw that. That was good. That was a good movie. Yeah.
No.
I think it's
Kurt
good.
Russell?
Escape
And-
from LA,
No,
not so
not Kurt
much.
Russell.
Yeah, right.
I just
Kurt
watched
Russell. Yeah, Escape from New York. Yeah,
That's
it's
a
great. Great
movie.
movie.
Trouble in Little China, great movie.
Well, we did it to South Africa. Wasn't South Africa once a penal colony? And
Australia
Australia.
Australia.
Okay.
Australia wasn't. Look, dude. Look at the Aussies, man. Them,
The
screw
Australians
everything.
did all right.
Look how they all turned out. Right. Yeah.
And I want to say one thing to Dragana. I'm not saying the Ottoman Empire is good. I am against empire. I am against imperialism. I agree with people like Ron Paul and Rand Paul. This is where I stand. I don't think it's right to go to other places and dominate them and steal their resources. So no, I don't think that's right. But I'm just was talking about it relatively speaking. And I think
That's
Eric
the American
agrees with
way.
me on
is
this
to
too.
Go invade
that
another
as an
country, take their
empire,
resources.
It's
and
not ISIS. It's not
rule
ISIS.
over them. That we do that all the time, don't we?
I don't think it's a good thing. I think we should
Dude,
need to
we
build
suck.
American. We need to build American things. If you're in America, build American things.
Damn straight.
American jobs. That's what I say.
Exactly, Issa. Exactly. Unfortunately, people don't believe in that, especially the Republican Party. It seems like now, but no. No. Okay, so, dude, honestly, we suck at American empire because because an empire gets tribute and money and resources from other countries. What do? No, we give money and resources to other countries. We have the opposite of an empire. I am sorry. I mean, I'm like, you people are stupid. We're giving all of our wealth and finances to Ukraine. We're giving all of our wealth and finances to whatever. I mean, oh my God. So now we just, dude, honestly, I got to say this is probably our best stream ever. I really do. Free flowing. I've loved it so far.
You don't
Great
have
chat.
PowerPoints to learn from.
No PowerPoints. No, whatever.
I can take it like a man. I take criticism easily.
I'm sorry, we're not in your pre-college class at your whatever, or your 8th grade class.
I am going to announce that the preponderance has been put on hold, and the reason why is because while writing it, I feel like I'm just, I don't know, I'm just kind of.
Dude, no, give the new title. The new title is excellent, dude. Are you talking about your book? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm changing the focus, and I already got like 12 pages of notes that I wrote up yesterday. I was so excited when I got home from Friday. I wrote Friday night and yesterday. Anyway, it's how the Quran corrupts the Bible.
That's brilliant. Brilliant.
It's how the Quran, if you are going to believe the Quran, what is in the Quran, it corrupts the stories that are told and the facts that are presented in the Bible. And actually, in part of the outline that I'm developing, I was working on, I'm going to dedicate an entire portion of it showing that the Quran itself actually does not say that the Bible has been corrupted. I mean, everything that the Quran says about the Bible says that the Bible is God's word. And it was at 5:157 where it says that that the Bible that you have in your hands tells of me, Muhammad. I'm in your Bible right there. So it tells us that they and the Bible that they had in the 7th century is the same Bible that we have today. So how can you say it's correct? So all these arguments, and so what I'm doing is I'm going to put together a long laundry list of where the Quran gets the Bible stories wrong. And here's just an example. This is just one example. If the Quran is indeed the inspired, or is not the inspired, is the direct speech of God given through Gabriel to Muhammad, and the Quran says that it was the Pharaoh's wife who drew Moses out of the Nile, whereas the Bible says it was the Pharaoh's daughter who drew Moses out of the Nile. Now, this is just a minor contradiction or a minor difference. But what we can clearly see is that you have a corruption of the biblical narrative by the Quran. And then what you have to do therefore is look at the sources for the Quran, and we're going to spend some time doing it. So anyway, the bottom line is that I was giving a test the other day, and I was walking around the classroom monitoring the students taking the tests, and of course your mind starts to wander, and you start to think of things, and this was just yes, thank you, Dragon, right there, boom, boom. This is what I need. We need to have like a live stream to give me ideas for this book. But anyway, I'm going to get to work on it, or I am already working on it, and I should have it published. I wouldn't think any later than the summer of 2032. That may be pushing it, but I'm definitely.
We can now start saying, Eric Keffer, you are now the author of the book.
Oh, yeah. That's the same standard, isn't it? Because even if it hasn't been published yet, hasn't read. Oh, that's the same standard.
Oh.
Who knew?
Anyway, Issa, we need to set up a time where you're not getting your car towed, where you're not getting at the diner, and we can just have a discussion. Okay, I'm sorry. What kind of car you got? What's wrong with your car? We can.
Yeah. I have a
seriously.
It's
you have a Prius? No, screw you. No, dude, bounce. He's a Prius. No, you're no. Is it a hybrid Prius?
It's a hybrid.
Oh, you are so screwed. He is so screwed. If it is a hybrid, seriously, dude. Oh my God, you don't understand. The battery in that thing is going to cost you more to recycle it. Okay. Than to no, seriously, you are so screwed, dude.
Okay, here's my policy.
I've been struggling, but it's okay. I had someone hit and ran me last year, and it was horrible, and I'm just surviving. And people do that. They'll hit you and they'll go. So,
did you hit him back? I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
No, I
didn't.
With a Prius? Are you kidding me, Rad?
They T-boned me.
Who are you going to hit back with the Toyota
They
Prius?
T-boned you in the
Yeah, they T-boned. I could be paralyzed.
Okay, my policy. Wait,
hold on. Wait. Stop, Eric, stop.
I want to give you my vehicle policy. The vehicle policy for the CAFR is that I cannot own a vehicle that gets more than 20 miles to the gallon.
It's true. I rode with him. It's true. It's true. Dude, he is a proud supporter. He is just not a proud supporter of climate change. He is its sponsor, and that's why I love him for it. But anyway, wait, Issa, you were T-boned in your Prius.
Yes.
By a gas guzzling TV. What? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it was a gas guzzling car, and it just touched me. It literally because
I just touched him.
It ran through me, but I'm saying like it sounded like it was
stop.
It destroyed the car, and I'm just trying to see if I can come back. And now my other car is just.
Wasn't your insurance covered or what? I don't.
Wait! Stop! Hold on. Eric, stop. So the gas guzzling car just touches the Prius and destroys it, and then gets to drive off into the sunset. And our brother. I'm sorry, dude.
It's not.
Yeah, another reason why to drive.
Hold on. You said, don't you have like comprehensive insurance or?
Well, I had insurance, but now I have a lawyer that's going to help navigate this case for me. But it's just terrible.
But you have to. The insurance company has to get your car fixed. The lawyer comes later.
They didn't. I don't know what my policy was, but because I needed to have like heavy unmanned policy. They paid for like chiropractic stuff that I didn't really need, but
no, for your car to fix your broke car. I mean, there's
more than that, but it was just like whatever. I just took what I could get.
Wow, it sounds like you guys.
See, and this is multiple PhDs in America. I'm sorry, Issa. You should have came to me. I would have told you how to work the scam. I'm just saying, okay? Because it is a scam. And I can tell you stories about how to work the scam. But yeah, get rid of the Prius. But you got another car, right? A good gas-burning car? Because hopefully...
Toyota car. I have another
Toyota. No, Toyotas are good.
Tundra? You got a Toyota Tundra?
but it's like, we'll make it through. And it's just, this is hard. My
Okay,
engine just shut off on me. I was going to do
I got a Ford F-150. I got a Ford F-150 that I'll sell you. You get 17 miles to gallon, but this thing, you can ram every Toyota Prius you could ever
That's
think of.
right, brother.
And walk away feeling like a man.
Actually, you're gonna sell it? I'll buy it. I mean, how much, Eric? Because I'm looking for a truck, dude.
I'm not selling that.
You're not selling it?
Not
Okay.
that. No, I'm not selling.
All right. Well,
All right, we got to go,
brother.
folks. It's after 6. We got to go. God bless you, everybody, for coming. It was a good fun today. Talking about Islamic Reformation. Next week I think we might go with that early church fathers thing that you were talking about, Rad, on the Trinity.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. No PowerPoints or limited PowerPoints.
Well, we'll have to have some type of information.
You should have a PowerPoint for the early church fathers, so you can showcase each of the early church fathers.
Well, I already have a PowerPoint on the early church fathers. This is just something I would have to add to, because we're talking about the Trinity as opposed to just.
We'll talk, Eric, how to do it. Because we got to do it bleeded, not just where you put up a PowerPoint and you're going through step by step by step. No, it's just got to be a bleeding where you talk about it and then you throw in the quotes. We'll talk about it off session. Okay, but play the code close. Play. By the way, I do not. Well, although Eric, you were talking about burning the Quran, I'm against that. But with Yasser Qadi saying there's holes in the Quran, dude, I'm sorry. We do got to shoot one. I'm just saying. We just do got to go out.
Oh, I bought another AR yesterday. I felt pretty good about it.
Dude, why? AK-47 so much better.
No. As a matter of fact, I took the Kaffir son yesterday, and he says, "Well, why don't you get this?" And I'm thinking, "Are you kidding me?" And he brought up a good point. I said, "Are you kidding? It's just another caliber of ammunition I got to store here in my safe."
Right.
I said, but he said, "Think about this. If you actually have to use it, and you run out of the other information, doesn't all the enemies of our country use 7.62?" And I'm like,
exactly.
He was making a lot of sense there. So I might have to.
And besides, it just sounds better. And yeah, I'm just.
They're a lot. You're right. All right. God bless everybody. Thank you for coming. Oh, also, yes, make sure you like, share, subscribe. And we will see you next week on the Crescent discussion group. God bless you all. Thanks for coming.
Advanced, student, and specialist. That the standard narrative has holes. That's what
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept. But that is a reality.